Okay, so it's Saturday morning. I'm out my standing date of Nova Ninja. It's kind of dragging this morning. I actually took it easy yesterday, so I'm still recovering from Thursday's workout. So this morning I woke up and I had a nice comment from someone who was in their mid-40s who wanted to get back into shape, having been sedentary for a while, and asked if I was selling a training plan or selling something, and which is a reasonable thing to ask because everyone on the internet is trying to sell something. And, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is, right? But no, I am not selling anything at all. And never really plan on selling a training or anything like that because there's just too many people on the internet doing that. And I make enough doing my own day job to make it that not worth it to help train people. But I love good questions, and immediately on the top of my head, these are the points that I thought of. First, go see a primary care physician, because you never know what could be lingering, especially when you're later on in life. And to go back, when I saw that he was in his mid-40s, like, whoa, that's kind of old. It's not, because I didn't get started till I was 37, having been literally sedentary for 5 years. I did not work out at all for 5 years straight. Didn't realize it at the time was going to be that long, but no, actually I did. I did plan on being sedentary for 5 years. I just didn't know what it would be like to try to get out of that. Anyway, mid-40s is not that old, but obviously if you do it sooner, like 37, the better off you are, just in general. Anyway, first thing out of my mind, actually, before the primary care physician, is the 10-year rule. My 10-year rule is you can only go back in time to how you were 10 years ago if you start a training program. You can go back further, as far as so let's just say 37-year-old Will, if he's starting when I was 37, when I was starting my training again, slowly, the most I could hope for was to be like 27-year-old Will. Does that make sense? People's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Young people are going to say that's you could do better than that. It's like, yeah, you can, but most people can't. So to take the 10-year rule into, you gotta focus on that, because lots of dudes particularly want to relive the glory days and want to be like how they were when they're 18 or whatever, and they're starting in their mid-40s. Like, bro, that ain't gonna work. So take the 10-year rule into heart. Okay, go see a primary care physician, get some blood work done. Make sure everything is good, cardiogram, everything. Ideally, get a DEXA scan and a resting metabolic rate test, because you need to know what you're dealing with as far as tracking progress and finding out how many calories you actually need. Because here's the next part. You need to start working on a sustainable, healthy habit formed with fitness and diet. Everyone skips the diet part because it's the hardest part. But it's the hardest part to get into the habit, but really it's the easiest thing to do, because you got to take the long game approach. And first thing I would tell someone to do is figure out how many calories you actually need. Whether or not you do the formal test, it's not a big deal, but figure out your size. What your body actually needs is probably somewhere around 2,200 calories for a normal male, 2,200. And just start peeling back just the bullshit that you don't need. The sodas, the chips. And I'm guilty of these things, but hey, I can treat myself. So you need to know what's going in and what's going out, and start to whittle that down. If you don't do the formal DEXA scan, take pictures of yourself. Because no one ever does this too, but everyone who ever has a successful fitness journey wishes that they took these pictures early on, because then it shows you what you accomplished. But again, when you initiate these things, you don't think you're going to get anywhere. At least I didn't. My goals were very, very modest, and I didn't think anything was going to revolutionarily happen to myself, but it actually did. So 2020 hindsight, I wish I had documented it very early. But that said, if you don't want to go through, spend $100 in the hour that it takes to do DEXA scan, which I really recommend, take pictures of yourself. Take pictures of yourself at the same time, same place, same lighting ideally, to give you an idea of your progress. Then start working on the fitness part. Create a sustainable habit. If you're going from completely sedentary, first thing that I thought of was go for a walk. And everyone thinks, well, no, I'm going to go run. Like, yeah, good luck with that. Walking's hard. I'm not like lying. Walking is very difficult, especially if you're not used to it. And I like the 15-minute walk test. It was where you walk 7.5 minutes out and 7.5 minutes back. Sounds easy, right? Well, the thing is that what you want to do is have a time and a place where you walk the 7.5 minutes out. And then as a marker, saying you make it to the 4th block down the street, halfway through to Mr. Jones's house. Come back. Next day, make it past to Mrs. Smith's house, and so forth and so forth. You become quite competitive, and you start stretching that out. And when you nail that, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go for 15 minutes out, 15 minutes back. And then maybe a light jog walk, blah, 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 blah. But start off with your goals modest, because then they become sustainable. Because what inevitably happens, people try to go, and it's just not sustainable. They haven't created a sustainable habit, and it just falls by the wayside. You become dejected, years roll by, and you're like, forget it, I'm going to give up. I see it all the time. So create sustainable habits one day, then make it to 2, then 3, and ideally 5 days, and then you rest the other 2 days. You know, for me, I've been doing it for so long now. It's a 7 out, or just even stretch or whatever. Like I did yesterday. I took a rest day, but I did maintenance work, shoulder work, stretching, stuff like that. So anyway, I got to go work out. But speaking of which, and like I said, habit. My habit now for Ninja is to go on Saturday mornings to Nova Ninja. And here I am. I'm a little bit late. Not too far off. Anyway, I'm going to go in and try to get some stuff done.
Nice, Sean. I'll try. Nice.
Okay, so it's hours later. I had a great gym session. A lot of ninjas came out that are going to be on the show. Adrian came back out, and I got to meet Austin, a phenomenal 16-year-old, and totally lives up to the hype of a Ninja Warrior Jr. who's on the adult show. Yeah, it's always such a great pleasure to just be around gifted people. And what I appreciate about Austin is that I think I'm kind of the same way. I don't talk about my abilities. I basically just show people what I can do without having to talk about it. And that's basically what Austin did to us adults. We were doing the Devil's Staircase, stair steps, whatever you want to call them. And it's this traverse course. You go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And only 3 people in the world have ever been able to do it at Nova, complete this exact course on at Nova Ninja. Anyway, Jesse and I were practicing. We're training on it. And Austin comes up and says hello and introduces himself to me. Whom he messaged me a few days earlier. I told him where I was going to be, when I was going to be there. And just such a nice, sweet young man. And he was just hanging out with us, and as me, Ferris, and Jesse were doing it, and Sean were doing it, I wanted to include Austin, so I said, "Hey, Austin, come on in. You want to go after Ferris?" And Ferris got pretty far, but man, when Austin went, he made it look effortless and unbelievable. Hopefully I'll post it because it's an impressive. Just the grace in which he did it. So anyway, I spent like literally an hour or two talking to his mom, he and his mom, and that was really nice. So it was nice getting to meet his mom, and more importantly, I was trying to explain to Austin why I like making these videos, and I was explaining this to Sean, why I was making these videos, and Sean appreciated it, because when I started my journey on with the show, there was not as much information as I had hoped there would be. I really appreciate what Lucas down in Miami was doing. Really appreciated that. And I, culled together as much information as I could, but there's a lot of stuff in there. Well, there isn't a lot of stuff on the internet, and there's a lot of stuff that I wish I had known. And I was just giving, this is Austin's first time on the show, the adult show, or the show period. And he, I was just telling him, like, this is stuff I would have loved to know. Austin and his mom really appreciated it, so I kind of filled her in on what I was telling her son. But yeah, and one of the things I close with is why I do this, and because I've mentioned it before. It is such an amazing experience, not the competition part, but meeting people, because everyone there has done something that's unique. And as I describe it to people, it's a convention of extraordinary human beings. And it feels kind of a massive humble brag to say that, since I'm part of them, but it really is. Even if you take me out of the equation, being able to be a fly on the wall, like one of the junior ninja parents, being a fly on the wall and being able to meet these people, it is amazing. Oh, and here's the funny thing. And as I'm telling them this story of why I like to go to is to be able to meet these extraordinary human beings, I start to tell them the story of why I want to go back every year and what really, really hooked me. And it was the story of how I met Jimmy Choi. And if you know anything about American Ninja Warrior, hopefully you know of Jimmy Choi. If you don't, please look him up on Instagram, TikTok. Amazing human being. And he is the reason why when I met him, like a couple hours before I left Tacoma to come home, he's the reason why, after a pity party, an all-night pity party, and waking up feeling down on myself and like I said, having this ridiculously self-absorbed pity party, and then meeting Jimmy and finding out later on my own who Jimmy is, what Jimmy can do with his condition. It makes any millisecond of me feeling sorry for myself disappear, and make me want to do better, make me want to take advantage of every opportunity that comes my way. And anytime I turn that down or don't do my best, I'm doing myself a disservice and disappointing my future self. So to hold me accountable, that's what I wanted. Why I will keep on pushing for as long as I can, even as ridiculous as it seems for my age, a bike racer doing American Ninja Warrior. It makes it all worth it, because I am going to be able to look my future self in the face many years from now, say, yeah, bro, your younger self did everything took advantage of every opportunity he had, and did as much as he could in the little time he had. So rest easy. So hopefully I'll cut some stuff in here. I didn't get to actually do as much as I wanted to, which is fine. My hands were kind of cooked, but the stuff I did do was fine. You can't hit it out of the park every day, and that's just how it is, right? You know, you can't hit a PR every single time you step up to the plate. So, no, I had a great day, aside from that. And the weather was crazy. It snowed today. It was supposed to snow at 12, and sure enough, it started snowing at 12, and I didn't realize, by the time I left the gym, just literally talking to Austin and his mom, it was 2.5 hours later. 2 hours and 15 minutes later. And, yeah. So, anyway, talk to you guys soon.